Hello my friends, how are y'all doing today? It's been a while, at least in my mind it feels like it's been weeks, even though it's really only been about 4 days, which isn't that long. Um, I've had a lot of subjects I wanted to talk about over the past few days, and I've been taking a ton of notes, and I've got pages and pages of ideas that I wanted to share, but as I mentioned about a week ago, I was going through some sciatic pain, and let's just say that the one thing I've learned, it's funny because before I made this video I went back and looked up some of my old videos about sciatica, and I have tons of them, and most of them are from around 5 years ago, and it's basically just me sympathizing with people who are in that kind of pain. But I still get questions regularly on those videos like, well, what did you do? How did you cure your sciatica? How did you fix your problem? What did you do? Did you get surgery? And I'll get into that, but first off, it went away for quite a while after I quit carpentry, but it comes back whenever I do too hard of labor. So I was doing gardening out in the backyard, and then about a week later, a little while later, I was doing some digging in the front yard a couple weeks ago, week and a half ago, and then my car got all messed up, and I was trying to wrench out this bolt that I couldn't get loose, and at that point it basically continues to wear on the spine. I don't want to get into the technicality. I mean, anybody who has sciatica knows what it is, but I wanted to just lay out that it's not an actual diagnosis, rather. It's not a specific condition. It's a set of symptoms. So your sciatic nerve is about as big around as your frickin' thumb, comes out between the L5 there in the spine, goes down your leg, down your butt. And so that nerve is the largest nerve in your body, and when there's a problem with it, it can hurt bad. Over the past several years, I've had maybe a slight ache in the back of my ankle, or in the back of my thigh, or on my shin, or maybe my big toe hurts for a minute. They're very slight hints that the sciatic pain could, still manifest again and resurface. But what I wanted to point out to people who might not realize this is, when you do something that inflames it, it can often take 3 or 4 days for it to actually take effect. In other words, the pain doesn't actually come until later. So you don't even know what you did wrong. And meanwhile, you're continuing to inflame it worse. So let's say a few days after you do some digging, it starts hurting really bad. You nurse it for a couple days and you start feeling better. So then you start moving some stuff around, like I did the other day. Moved a couple speakers. And I thought, okay, this was after I made my last video. But gradually I didn't realize the pain was actually still getting worse. So for the last 4 days I've been laid out on the couch. I can't even lay down, is the thing. It's not that I can just lay there and be comfortable. There's no comfortable position. The only semi-comfortable position is when I'm halfway sitting up and with my legs kind of pulled up, with one leg up on the edge of the couch and something under my lumbar. And the problem with that is that it just compounds the problem, because the more sitting you do, the worse it can become. And there are 1,000 articles, some are like, oh yeah, you should walk it off. Others are like, no, you should get bed rest. And like I said, it really comes down to why it's happening. For some people, it's a slipped disc. For some people, they've worn down the tissue or the cartilage there and the nerve's being bothered. For others, it's bone spurs. For some people, it's maybe a calcium deposit, or it could be a tumor for some people. And for some women, it happens when they're pregnant. My wife had it when she was pregnant. So I guess I didn't want to spend this whole thing just talking about sciatica, but man, I've been through some shit the last few days. And I guess the real part of it I wanted to discuss is the humility that it brings you, but also the test that it puts you through to say, how well can you cope with this type of pain? Now we all face physical and mental pain in our lives. We lose loved ones, we lose jobs, our house is burned down, a million different things happen in the real world. But when it comes to physical pain, it's not so easy to see. When somebody has, let's say, half of their face scraped off and they have a giant scar, or a person is blind, or a person has some physical abnormality or deficit, then people might, they'll be able to see that and judge them. Not judge them in a bad way, but I mean be able to judge the fact that this person has been through a lot. Whereas you see a person who's suffered back pain like me, and just nothing. You don't see the pain. And that's one of the biggest problems with going to the doctor. It's a radiculopathy is what they call it. It's radiating pain, basically, that can be anywhere on your leg. And so I'm forcing myself to stand up right now and make this video. I'm very uncomfortable because my back is just, I want to sit down. The thing is, I haven't been able to sleep properly for like 4 days. I'll sleep for a few hours and I'll wake up in a weird position and be like, oh God, this is going to hurt. And I try to make it to the bathroom, try to stand there and pee, and then come back to the couch and maybe even lay over the edge of it on my stomach with my legs down. And I found if that stretch can kind of help. If you can find not a couch, but rather like one of the end pieces, whatever you call them, the chase part or whatever, where there's no back on it, and you can just lay with your knees on the floor on something soft, and up over the edge of that with your arms stretched out in front, and then stretch your legs gradually out behind you too. But ultimately, our goal is to be able to get back up on our feet, right? And when this shit happens, it really breaks our spirit sometimes. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there again as another video about pain and sciatica. But the main point of this one is use it as a time to teach yourself patience and understanding about patience, I guess, which is kind of a deficit of mine. I like anybody, will just want to get better and get going again. And it's compounded by the fact that we were going to go to the Oregon Country Fair this year. My wife really wanted to go. It was the 50th anniversary, and I'm already realized that I won't be able to walk from the campsite to, the fair back and forth. I mean, I'll just be miserable. So we kind of had to scrap that, and I haven't been able to get any work done, get anything done around the house. I've just been basically laid out. So, like I said, this is the first time I've stood up, and it feels good to be able to actually maybe get back going again. But sitting in the driver's seat is miserable when you have sciatica. And one way to ease the burden, don't ever carry your wallet while you're driving or when you're sitting down. I mean, this is more of an issue than people realize. It's like a wallet-induced sciatica, and especially people who have them fat wallets with a bunch of useless cards in them. Even a thin wallet can be a problem, but having a lumbar pillow and sitting in a proper seat, certain cars aren't as comfortable as others. When I'm driving my school bus, it's like sitting up in a real chair, whereas when I'm in my wife's, she drives a Honda Passport, an SUV, and the Honda seats are horrible for people with sciatica. It's just the worst in my experience. But like I say, everyone's unique, maybe it's different for others, but it's something to consider. So anyway, that's kind of my ramble, discussion. It's been a long ride, and I'm really hoping that I can stretch this out and get myself through it so I can get back into the discussions I want to have and make some videos. And I'm just making this one because I haven't made one in probably 4 days, and I'm going to be gone for another 4 days, probably camping. So maybe I'll put another one out before I go. I wanted to talk about West Coast earthquakes and enlightenment and philosophy and all these fun things, like I always ramble. It's just, maybe that would be the final note I'd like to make. This is probably the most important point I can make. When you're feeling good in life, even when you're just feeling average, at least you can function, You're more likely to come up with ideas, you're more likely to, I should say, find a way to convey those ideas to other people. In the last few days, my brain still works. I've learned how even when I'm in pain and I can't move my body, my brain is always flowing. I'm always reading and doing research. I added several more pages to this enlightenment paper that I'm writing about the kind of joke of this idea that it's something that you can discover, but rather it's something that you chip away at. And I keep adding more and more ideas to this stuff, so it's not like I'm running out of thoughts or ideas or defeated. But when it goes to wanting to share that with people, I've kind of been like, bah humbug, I don't want to be on camera, and I don't really want to share anything right now, and I don't even want to send anybody text messages or anything. I just kind of want to hide in my pain. And maybe that's something important for us to consider. For those around us who have a lot of great ideas to share, but maybe just aren't in the mood to share it, or aren't social, or feeling social at the time. And that can be because of pain and many different forms. On the other hand, the little catch there is that sometimes the pain is what inspires us in the first place. So, be well, my friends. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening.